So last time we started understanding BA as in standard practices and as an regulated policy measures by the IIBA. IIBA is one of the most prominent institutions who basically guides all business analysts and have lots and lots of certification to be cleared to. So if you are looking for a certified BA, career kind of stuff, then IIB is the right side and can start learning those, achieving those certification if you want to. But the next step is basically the PMP-PMI certification. So we might target for that as well. So IIB is kind of inclusion there. As a management, previously in before 15-20 years, the manager used to do the BA duties as well. Okay, so business analyst basically collects the vision, jot down into list of minutes of meeting, action items, and so on and so forth. Convert them to requirement, functional requirement, non-functional requirement, product features list, and so on and so forth. So that's the work BA does overall. Just to repeat what I'm saying, so business analyst is basically understand the vision with multiple meetings with the visionary, the leaders, the backgrounds, and so on and so forth. Convert this vision into overall a list of minutes of meetings with action items, names, targets, this, and so on and so forth. And then it basically converts into requirement, functional requirement, non-functional requirement, product feature list, services required, and so on and so forth. So that's the task actually VA does. And with that, the IIBA BA book have created a complete book for referencing for all business activities, business analysis best practices. Okay, so we refer to this BA book or BA book, whatever they call it as. So in that scenario, we are going to refer 6 knowledge area of that BA book, which are followed overall globally to understand how BA should do his or her work, what type of outputs are expected, what type of tools we are going to use. Tools are not mentioned there, but tools we discuss because we want to achieve certain things, right? So what we do, we normally try to understand on this 6 knowledge area in terms of input, process, output type of scenarios, right? Any confusion so far? Anybody have any question for me? Simple enough, right? Hello, could you hear me? Means
yeah, we can hear you.
Sure, no problem. Okay, so I believe no question. So let me take a step forward. We'll just review whatever we did for the first knowledge area: business analysis, planning, and monitoring input. Whatever you prefer. In the interview, you can explain it the other way also. Okay, the inputs basically the needs, wish list, performance objectives, functional, non-functional requirements are the inputs, and these inputs are collected over various meetings. This is again, business analyst is an art to work. Whatever the automated process can't do, we humans step in and try to take it further to a level where we can give them a concept, we can build a kind of solution to it. That's why BABOK is basically more towards rather than a standard repetitive process. They talked about this artwork as well, how we can improve, how we can continuously build ourselves in terms of these business analysis policies and procedures. Okay, so let's start with plan business analyst approach. The first thing we do is plan our business analyst approach. Okay, then we what do you mean by planning? We build basically an approach. How do you going to tackle a typical business analysis which are in your hand? So last time we have discussed an example of me working as a business analyst with Infosys, and Infosys starts a new engagement with an insurance company called State Farm. Okay, and me as a business analyst, I accompany a sales manager who was interacting with sales farm, or Infosys is targeting a particular region to improve its business, right? What Infosys does, we are an IT solution company. We give IT solutions to various industry giants. State Farm is one of the biggest insurance company in the Midwest region. They are headquartered near St. Louis. So what we do, I accompany my sales manager in a Zoom Meet, Google Meet nowadays. Previously, we used to go and meet and greet those people, where I meet first time with the visionary, the leader, who explain what he have in his mind. And we start basically understanding or planning our business analyst approach for a solution. So that VPHR, we can, that's a kind of product owner who starts discussing his idea of improvement attendance management solution for State Farm. And we're going to dwell on this example throughout our sessions, the business analyst as well as project management session. In business analyst, we are the business analyst. In project management session, we are the project manager for this project. So we will study a complete gradual evolution of this solution from understanding or from the first meet to the client, starting an engagement for Infosys, and then expand this engagement to a multi-project level. Okay, so that we can really create a case study. You can include this thing in your profile also. Okay. So let me, I don't know what happened to my throat, so pardon me for that. So first, I'll plan my business analyst approach. How do I do it? It can be as simple as an Excel sheet or Word document where I write a step. First, meet the visionary product owner, Mr. So-and-so, VPHR, State Farm, St. Louis, Urbana, Champaign, whatever you want to like, whatever the exact things are. And here I start creating these documents step by step about building better plan analysis approach, building, my approach step by step, one after the another. This is planning the overall business analyst approach. The next step is basically plan stakeholder engagement. So what I do, I plan my stakeholder engagement. When I complete the first meeting, there I get an idea whom are the right person as far as collecting the requirement for this solution. So how do you think it through? First, the product owner, the VPHR basically tells you on the overall solutions they are requiring or solution they want to build, right? So what he says, I want to build an enhancing my attendance management solution. Now let's think about the practicability. They had a solution of taking signature of everybody on the attendance ledger with a supervisor reviewing their identity. That's a normal manual process we used to have from ages. So if any employee walks in to the gate door, he normally signs on an attendance register with a name, time, and his signature. And he normally shows his picture identity to the supervisor, a person who is basically validating to identity. So that Ravindra Pandey can't sign on any other name. He will sign on his only name, and then he can enter the office. And that time is marked as his entry to the work. Same thing with the exit. This is what the attendance management manual solution does. Now, when basically VPHR discuss these things with you, these are normally kind of a wish list level. Here, we are trying to understand, could we take these solutions? Are we aligned enough to build the solution for any client? Somebody might ask you to build a atomic bomb. There are quite a few legality involved in building an atomic bomb for a client. I believe you can understand what I'm trying to say, right? Yes, it's a kind of joke, definitely. But when I go to a client, I need to understand, can I do it? Can't I do it? Is it my forte? Is it thing which I need to start an R&D department with, and so on and so forth? So these are the different type of approaches I can take for a typical solution. These are considered in the plan analysis approach. In plan analysis approach, I might add, yes, we have done some attendance management solution for some other company, so we can utilize the code and whatnot and all. So there's a reusability, so we can really get this project done with the maximum profitability and so on and so forth. The second thing, plan stakeholder engagement. So first, I'll identify stakeholder. What are the stakeholders? VPHR is my product owner. Then I'll talk with the HR manager, what type of details they need for attendance, where are the historical attendance records, how can we convert it to digitally, if they have any software they were using previously, like this. Normally, all these older companies, they have these ledger entered by a data entry operator to a system, might be a ERP system or an intranet system or something like that sort, where I can just get that data and insert into our system and start working on that, something like that. So I need to plan the stakeholder engagement, whom to meet, when to meet, what's the best way to meet. Should I meet in the evening, afternoon, lunchtime, dinner time, wine time, and so on and so forth. So these are basically talks about planning stakeholder engagement. Then plan business analysis governance. Here, what I do, when I got a list of activity, I attached a schedule to it. So I started building a plan saying ki first day, next day I meet this guy, next day I meet this guy. I'll get the MOM. I'll circuit the MOM within these 4 5 guys, and then this person is the approval so that I can start creating the SRS. So how much time am I looking at for the SRS? 15 days down the line, 20 days down the line, 2 months down the line. So I start building a schedule for my business analysis activity and try to govern it. Govern in the sense, I'll tell the Infosys management as well as the client management so that I'm in control. I'm trying to list down all the activities I'm going to do for this business solution building for State Farm. Then plan 3.4 is plan business analysis information management. Whatever I create in terms of MOMs, in terms of audio file recording, in terms of SRS template and its update, I normally keep it at a secure place. At least I have a 2 copy, one on the cloud, one on my laptop, or I can have a 3 copy as well, so that if anything goes wrong, God forbid, and this is a kind of risk mitigation as well, I should be able to manage that risk. Let's say if the cloud server fails, normally we have an SLA with all cloud service provider. They'll make sure your data is backed up at these and these places and so on and so forth. If you look at something called service level agreement with any cloud service provider. But otherwise, I'll have a copy with me on my laptop as well, so that whenever I update, I'll refer to that, even I'm offline, remote place, whatnot, right? And then I basically plan such information management in advance so that whenever we are progressed, the critical documents or critical information is safe. Here we get some artifacts from client as well, like a photo of a attendance ledger, a sample of data transferred to SAP, or transferred to any other business application they are using to track attendance record digitally, so on and so forth. Then we have 3.5, identify business analysis performance improvement. Within myself, what I discuss, how can I implement my analysis better? I might add another analyst to team and we together get this analysis done if I feel there are too much things to be handled, right? And so on and so forth. Otherwise, I'll basically make sure I'll audit my work at least a week, in a week's time. It's a kind of self-auditing. Am I doing better? Am I going haywire? Am I creating enough document required for knowledge transfers and all those things? We'll come to this item list step by step, how we're going to tackle that. But overall, there are certain processes involved here which will keep my performance improvements in check. Now, what are the output expected? From 3.1, we built a document, Word document Excel sheet called business analysis approach. It'll tell me what type of approach I'm going to take for this solutioning. Then I'll build a list of stakeholders in the stakeholder engagement approach with their name, contact numbers, LinkedIn ID, Facebook ID, whatnot you want. That's my prerogative to how to tackle this thing in the best possible way, right? And then I'll govern my approach. I'll make sure whatever I'm doing, it's perfectly scheduled, it's time, and I'll move according to the time. If I change the schedule, I might have a reason for that, and I'll mention there as well. So that whenever somebody wants to audit your processes, even the governance approach can be audited. This can be also a simple Word document or an Excel sheet, depending upon your organization policies and procedures. If you're working with a startup, you can create your own documents. Then information management approach. How do I manage my information? How do I secure my information, whatever I created? These are the another Word document or Excel sheet, which I basically kept it somewhere safe. These are all auditory facts. The business analysis performance assessment is basically kind of a simple written or a verbal artifact, which in some bigger company, they have a document. In some organizations, even your vocal statements can be taken as an artifacts. Does that make sense? Have you understood business analysis, planning and monitoring as a knowledge area? So like this, we have knowledge area in business analyst as well as project management. Any confusion here in inputs, tasks or processes or outputs? Anybody have any confusion?
No, sir.
Okay, let's take a step further. Let's go to the second knowledge area. These are simple enough, but overall the I don't know what happened to this, pardon me for that. But whenever we go to the actual implementation, you will actually learn the arts or the tools usage in that, and that's the kind of where the artwork actually started. So the difference of personality or the best use of your personality for a given task at hand. Okay, so the second knowledge area is elicitation and collaboration. Now we discussed about this also last time. Let's repeat these things, or let's try to revisit it again. Elicitation and collaboration describes the tasks that business analysts perform to prepare for and conduct elicitation activities and confirm the result obtained. So this is basically the process talks about the vision mission converted to the MOM, converted to the list of functionality, feature list required for a given solution, product or services. It also describes the communication with the stakeholder. Once the business analyst information is assembled, is collected, like the MOMs, the ongoing collaboration with them through their business and analysis activities. Normally, the process is whenever you create MOM, you send the MOM, that's a kind of Excel sheet or Word document, to the parties who are involved in the meeting, so that they'll understand it correctly. They can validate your MOM saying, yeah, that's fine with me. And you will normally write in an email saying, okay, if I missed out anything, please do let me know. If this is not what you were saying, please let me know. So if you have any contradiction, confusion, any details to be added to this, or if I misunderstood anything, please do let me know. And you'll wait for a day or two to archive this MOM on your cloud. So whenever you do this, it means that the MOM is finalized. In some companies, mostly in Infosys, you have an approval process for an MOM. You get approved from the sales manager as well as the VP HR or the product owner. So each MOM has to be agreed or okayed by these two so that they can be archived in a in a cloud. And the cloud takes care of these archivals or approval. If they have any query, they can email or they can write in a comment section for a document on the cloud. Okay, so these kind of elicitation and collaboration process, let's have a look at from an input-output perspective. Okay, so this is a 4th chapter in our book. Elicitation and collaboration. The inputs are again the wish list, the business analyst information, whatever you collected in terms of MOM, audio files, artifacts they've given to you, and stakeholder engagement approach. These are much similar. You might find a similar, parallel activities. It's the same activity in every knowledge area where I'm trying to execute. Why they kept it, repetition? Because they want to make sure we shouldn't miss anything, because requirement should be complete, concise in its way, right? And that's the most important factor whenever you collect requirement. That's why there's a bit of repetition here. So when you talk about stakeholder engagement approach, in the first knowledge area also, oh, come on, this is not fine. Here we have planned stakeholder engagement. Here we are trying to, oh, come on. Here we are trying to have stakeholder engagement approach. So how do you going to approach? Whom do you call? When do you call first? When do you call, next time, and so on and so forth. Business analysis performance assessment, same as a knowledge area first. The task or the processes we achieve here are prepare for elicitation. So we build a elicitation activity plan. How are we going to understand, or how are you going to conduct your meetings? Nowadays we conduct this meeting via online, so it's a Zoom, Google Meet, Microsoft Team Meets, whatnot, but you need to mention it somewhere so that we'll procure the licenses as an organizations for the tools and techniques you require for these things. So basically online meeting tool is one of the first tool we use. We do lots of meeting as a BAs because we need to talk to almost all the stakeholders. Here stakeholder means all the client counterparts who are going to help to build me these solutions. Then we normally have conduct elicitation to actually talk to these guys, get the confusion cleared out, make sure whatever you capture as a requirement has a complete independent entity and concise in itself. So the requirement should be complete. If somebody says, I want to achieve 24/7 attendance management system, so how do you achieve such results? That will you'll mention in elicitation results. So nowadays we achieve that with the cloud service provider. The solution will be deployed to the cloud, so it's available for anybody and everybody via mobile, laptop, desktop, whatnot, right? And then like this we build basically elicitation results. It can be as simple as an Excel sheet with first column serial number, second column requirement wish list, third column can be elicitation result, fourth column can be conceptual solution or proposed solution. This way the elicitation results can be a simple table in Excel sheet or Word document. The 4.3 is basically confirm elicitation result. Now almost on all business activity we confirm our elicitation results. So this Excel sheet is basically approved by the product owner. Product owner, because product owner is in charge, or he is basically carrying the vision for the product, project, solution, services, whatnot. So that's why he is a kind of confirming or approving authority for elicitation results. There's a bit of difference between confirmance and approval. Confirmers is like, I confirm that you've written that and I'm fine with that. Approval is okay, I approved. So if there are any changes, I'll come back to you, and whatever there are monetary repercussions, I'll approve that. So something like that. So there's a bit of difference between confirmation and approval. Okay, these things do matter most whenever you are doing business analysis activity, because we are analyzing the business, we are capturing the vision into requirements, right? So that's why these words do matter a lot whenever you talk about business analyst. Business analysis information communicated in the sense the email you sent. If you send any artifact via courier, via US post or whatnot, you have to mention it. You have to report it in a document called business analysis information sharing communicated. Again, these names can change a bit depending upon the organizations you work for. But these documents are there required for artifacts in almost all the organizations one way or the other. There could be a scenario where we combine a couple of documents into one document. That's to happen. Again, the output is stakeholder engagement. Here, I am improving that Excel sheet with name, date, and everything with the best time to call, best tool to call, like online, Google Meet, Zoom Meet. Some of the guys, they don't like Zoom Meet. Some of the guys, they don't like Google Meet. So I might have to choose depending upon which person likes which type of communication tool, which they are comfortable in, because we are working with a client, right? And client is paying for these things. So client is a god in every business. On top of that, sales management has a budget for procuring this license and financing this activity. So we are doing it with a licensed tool like Zoom Meet and all those things. Does that make sense? Anybody have any confusion, contradiction with elicitation and collaboration?
No.
Have you? Okay, you understood the technicality, right? We will do a hands-on workshop. That time you'll basically get an idea of what type of documentation we need in these processes. And this is the first time we are learning, right? So more or less, we are trying to understand how these business processes are aligned for the efficiency and best practices over the years. Okay. Now, the third and the most critical knowledge area is requirements lifecycle management. Again, I'll repeat, life cycle is basically talks about the complete cycle of a given information project solution from inception to deployment to support. Again, same thing with requirements, describes the task that business analysts perform in order to manage and maintain the requirement. Manage in the sense you conceive the requirement, you conceive the requirement into the solutions, then you manage it, you make it evolve to a solution level for development, technical, solution creations, actual building the solutions or services and whatnot, right? And then you basically manage it. You are also planned for its support. So once you sell the product, there's a support involved. Once you sell the solution, there's a support involved. And you might require to develop support services in the services pardigram as well. Okay, so these are basically in order to manage and maintain the requirements and design information from the inception to retirement. The word here they have used retirement. So when your solution retires, when it completes its validity, business value, the earning profits and everything. So that's how long the overall process for a BA is, or the life cycle for a requirement management from inception to retirement. Please keep these words in mind. Write it somewhere so that you can explain it to the interviewer also. Somebody might ask you, what's the requirement life cycle? So you can clearly say from the inceptions to retirement. We start with overall understanding the vision mission of a product owner or a client, build into minutes of meeting, converts minutes of meeting into requirement, feature lists, services required. Then we construct them, we develop them with the development team. And then after releasing, we might plan a support for the same, like the product, solution, services, what not required. And then after its business, targets achieved, like the so much profit, so much, validity of a cause and so on and so forth, then we'll retire that solution, product or services, right? So that's the overall life cycle of a requirements life cycle. And here we are managing as a business analyst. These tasks describe the establishment of meaningful relationship between the related requirements and design. So these requirements might be interdependent, and we mention it so with some sort of a diagram, and we'll come to that. And assessing and analyzing, gaining consensus on the proposed changes to the requirement and design. See, whenever an organization creates a solutions, wants a solutions, wish for a solution, there are changes is going to happen in that organizational solution space, right? So you might add another solution and it should work with the solutions previously available there. And this is what we discussed as a background for the solution inception. Now, whenever we suggest some change to any organizations, that organizations might obstruct to such change. That's a normal psychology of a humans. But still, they are also want to improve to a new latest technology. They want to make sure their life is a bit easier day by day, and so on and so forth. So these solutions are accepted by all the organizations. It can be a top-down approach. So management says you need to work like this, and so on and so forth. So this way, these requirement solutions are aligned with the management thought process of improvement of a given organizations. That's why they say this task describes a meaningful relationship between related requirements. So they talk about the requirement dependencies and designing and assessing and analyzing and gaining consensus on proposed changes to the requirements and designing by the organization. Okay, chalo, let's have a look at from input-output perspectives of the BABOK. The inputs here are the requirements, list of requirements we have collected from the MOM and then labeled it or converted into the requirements. And then we build a small design. This can be conceptual design where we normally try to relate or interdependent these requirements. And then we also mention the proposed changes to the client, to the stakeholders. And we also build something called requirements, which are normally approved and sanctioned afterwards. So first, we build a trace of requirement. What are the trace of requirement? Normally, these trace it's a really important, document here called trace requirements. Here, I normally mention my requirement to the date, time, and a persons I have discussed with in the first time. So my first meeting MOM is also a very crucial artifact for the tracing requirements. We normally come up with a document called RTM, Requirement Traceability Matrix. It's a simple table which basically reflects the requirement you collected the day you discuss this wish list, discuss this functionality list with the product owner on the first time. Then how do you evolve these wish list or requirement step by step into which documents and so on and so forth. This is mentioned in a table called Requirement Traceability Matrix, or normally referred as RTM in every IT company. And RTM is really crucial documents. If you fail to produce RTM, it's a sin. It's a non-conformance to the auditory procedure. It means that you have missed a crucial pillar in your business analyst. Something like list of requirements, because we're going to build the functionality or product feature based on the list of requirements. Similarly, RTM builds the traceability of the requirement from start to finish. RTM is used by everybody in the software space, starting from the business analyst, then the testers, then the project managers, the test managers, the release managers, even user acceptance testing. And we'll discuss about this terminology step by step. They check the RTM, making sure whoever have mentioned this requirement have been completed in its conciseness, in its completeness. That's why RTM, trace requirements, is really important document. It's normally a table and an Excel sheet, but there are some organizations who uses Word document as well. Then you move to maintain requirements. How do you maintain requirements? You keep updating these lists step by step. Whenever we discuss something which is related to another requirement, that requirement also might need to get updated. And this way, we maintain the interdependency and maintain the requirements list. And then we prioritize the requirement. Rather than business analyst, the business prioritizes this requirement. Now here business means the client, the state farm of the world, the stakeholders of the world. They prioritize this requirement depending upon their wish list, depending upon their planning of improving their business step by step. The VPHR might tell you to directly implement biometric or directly implement iris scanner because he have challenges or he has his own experiences with one or the other previously. Okay, philosophically speaking, everything has its advantages and disadvantages. Even if you get Tesla, you should have a charging station. Even if you get a Toyota Camry, you have to have a service station near your house, right? So every facility, every advancement in your life has pros and cons attached to it. Similarly, prioritization of a requirement is really a critical task for the client. As an engagement partner, as a technical partner, Infosys supports their decisions, and business analysts note this prioritization in their document. These are normally mentioned across the requirement list. This is the priority 1, priority 2, and so on and so forth. So requirement list, a document or an Excel sheet, has these requirement priority numbers and some comments or remarks by the client saying, I want this thing before Christmas. I want this thing to be rolled out before July 21st, something like that sort. They have their own business goals, and we as a technical partner, Infosys, me business analyst working at Infosys, supports their decision. So these are normally prioritized by the client or a stakeholder. We just support them. But sometimes we can also change the priorities, but we normally get them validated from the stakeholders. Assess requirement changes. Now requirements keep changing. This is like Mera Wala Lal. What do you mean by that? There are some cosmetic requirements. They keep changing, and that's why the agility is all about. But we need to make sure whatever requirements you do change, they are in line with the core objectives. That's the business analyst's job. Or they can raise concern to the product owner saying, hey boss, we were trying to build a Tesla and now you talk about Toyota Corolla. That's totally different thing. So could you please guide me, which should I, path is the best for this solution? then the product owner might tell you, no, that's a kind of wish list. We can put it as the lowest priority, or we can scrap that as in not possible in this phase. We never say no, because as a business analyst, we closely work with salespeople. We never say no to anybody, but there are diplomatic way to say no. So we say, no, it's not possible in this phase. We might tackle this in the next phase. We might have another, requirement gathering session where we detail this out. But right now, this is part for the next phase. It's a one way to say no, but these things do matter in life as far as business analyst goes, because we normally meet and greet with all the senior people from client side. That's why we have to really critical about what we say, what we reply, how do we reply. So that's why business analysts also get appreciated for their best approach to the solution, for their best communications, for their best alignment with the stakeholders. Then we have approve requirements. Requirement approval is a process. Every organizations have their way of approval requirements. Whenever you create a list of requirement, which is normally released and sanctioned by a sales manager or a reporting officer to you, put it on a cloud, and then an email is automatically generated, or as a business analyst or a sales manager, send the email to different stakeholder, whoever basically going to sanction those requirements. And this is a periodic process. It's not like you create a list and you normally send it forward. Normally these requirement changes happens every week. So you normally have a weekly review call. We will come to these calls in our project lifecycle management details. These weekly review call, we talk to the clients on change priority, change requirements, and how the approvals is going to get affected. Do we need the approvals of a product owner, or a normal HR executive who is in charge of some department can also approve those things. So these things do happen. So whenever you build this business analyst approach, you normally mention the approver name and designation for certain department as well. And this way we create this document. So here the most important documents are RTM, requirement traceability matrix, and list of requirement and list of stakeholder. So we have created these three distinct documents for an output, or those are the documents which are getting created in this business analysis process. Have you understood what I'm trying to say here? Any confusion at this moment? Let's look at the output again. Now requirement traceability matrix, the designs trace means whatever conceptual design you started building for a given number of requirements. So you normally build another table with a conceptual design in the sense literal drawing, or there are use case diagram and some other diagram as well. We'll start learning them in our next session. Then requirements maintained, list of requirements maintained, designed, maintained in the sense these are version document. Now let's try to understand versioning of a document. Whenever you create document, that document is normally saved with a creation date and a modification date by the Windows as an operating system. Now whenever we normally share these documents on the cloud or on email, we need to maintain the document with a date of document release. So how do you say requirement list for attendance management solutions for State Farm? Then there's a hyphen or underscore depending upon your organizational policies and procedure, and I'll say 19 Feb 22. So this is the document which is released on 19 Feb 22, or I might give a number called version number to them, and we'll talk about version number when we come across project management. How do we give this version number? These are normally x.x.x.x. So there are 4 digits, or there are 4 numbers associated with single version number. Something like 2.3.4.5. I'm just giving you a raw example, and we'll basically build a practice. How do you give these version numbers? When you talk about online source repository, online document repository, there are documents which have versions. Whenever you send these documents on the cloud. So if you look at list of requirements, while discussion, you normally mention the date of creation or date of last modification or this version number whenever you referring to the requirement list, because requirement list keep changing as far as step by step the solution evolves while discussing, right? So when you refer to something like requirement list, I might refer to a requirement list for a particular day. And that's how they say maintain, in the sense maintain in these version cycles. Requirements prioritize, again same, whenever I change requirements list, once a day I release it with the date at the end of the name of the file. Same thing with designs are basically Word document or the image files. Again, requirement change assessments, these assessments basically are talked about the contradiction with another dependent requirement. See something you want to develop earlier, which can't be done because of there are some dependent entities which are getting developed at a later stage, according to your plan or the manager's plan or the client's wish list, right? So here we will change or will mention all such conflicts and discuss during the meetings, discuss during the online meeting with the corresponding people. So these are the requirement change assessment document. Then design change assessment document. If somebody suggest or wish some change in design, we need to basically clarify the dependencies, contradictions as well. All the requirements which are approved are being released after sanctioning or approvals from a respective corresponding authorities. Same thing with designs as well. So we normally create 5 documents. These can be 5 independent documents, or normally, as I discussed with you, 3 documents are normally output from the business analysis process. First is basically the MOMs, minutes of meeting. Second is list of requirements. Again, that's a kind of versions or maintained document. Third is basically the designs or conceptual diagrams or high level diagrams. We're going to design, we're going to develop all these 3 entities by ourselves. We'll work on a hands-on workshop. So as an analyst, we will know how to do those things. So don't worry on that part. First, we'll try to understand the purpose behind it. And if you want, we can revisit these documents even after doing the hands-on workshop as well. Okay, I'm going to share this presentation with you today after our session so that you can revisit these things. Even I'm going to share the recording, so you can revisit all these things and try to understand practicability. How can I make sure the requirement won't miss a thing? And I'll create these artifacts or the documents which will be released to the cloud storage server to make sure even if I fall sick on a day, God forbid, that shouldn't happen. But still, there are documents whom everybody else can go on, can keep working on those documents and something like so. So we are maintaining some load balancing, we are maintaining some independently as far as the solutioning goes. Okay, let's take a look at the first knowledge area. There are 6 knowledge area total. We covered 3. I know this is a kind of theory I'm talking about, but still these are important things and they have an interdependency in terms of knowledge area. That's why we need to complete this 6 knowledge area in one session so that you'll understand incompleteness and you'll understand the completeness by itself. Okay, let's try to understand strategy analysis. These are basically, as we discussed, there are tactical things and strategic things. Strategy things are basically planned for more than 6 months time. Some might say more than a year time, depending upon the thought process. This is again not anything discussed, but this is basically linguistic matters. So describe the business analyst work that must be performed to collaborate with the stakeholder in order to identify a need of a strategic or tactical importance. So tactical importance is what they mentioned as a business need. Strategic importance is basically the evolutionary need of a business. Enable the enterprise to address the need and align the resulting strategy for the change with the higher and lower level strategies. Higher level, longer level strategies, lower level, very quicker tactics applied to the given thought process. Now let's try to understand in terms of the input outputs. The inputs here are again the needs and the wish list, the influences internal or external, influences in the sense if there are some political influence, if there are certain influence from other departments within the organizations, if there are departments from legal challenges happened across your environment, if there are any influences from rising prices, something like COVID, right? We have changed our way of living when we faced with the COVID. So COVID was one of the biggest influence when you talk about the efficiency of a project executions. And in that scenario, we need to understand and list down the influences which are going to affect this business analysis processes. Then stakeholder engagement approach, as we discussed, it's coming from knowledge area 1. And here we just maintain the stakeholder list, which will get updated step by step. Elicitation result, which might be unconfirmed, or elicitation result, which might be confirmed. These are the list we are talking about, where we build the list of functionality from the vision. Then the designs according to the priority, and then the requirements prioritize. These are the overall collections what we are collecting from knowledge area 1 to 3. This is our 4th knowledge area we are talking about. The task or the processes we perform are analyze current state, define future state, and assess risk. Now we are going into the management cadre of it. Now we are getting attached to the management of the overall solution, product, or services. Analyze the current state in the sense where we stand in terms of the client's scenario where we are going to deploy this solution. So you might study if there is a SAP software deployed, if they are using Excel extensively. So we'll basically get aligned with such tool sets. Then define future sets. Do you want to replace them with using this software from the Excel or from the SAP? So we'll pull the data of a SAP in our application, whatever we needed, and those scenarios. And then assess risk. Are there any risk in doing so? Are there any financial challenges? Are there delay expected due to additional tasks and so on and so forth? So these kind of risks are assessed. We study risk in depth whenever we go to the project management sessions, right? But just understand, risk is a thought process where we understand an uncertainty and we'll try to cope up with that uncertainty with certain assumptions or what we call mitigation factors, right? We'll study risk in depth. Let's try to understand the other tasks, like, and as we've seen analyze the current state, we've seen define future state, assess risk, and there's another additional thing, define change strategy. This is what we call gap analysis. If you are improving anything like the attendance management solution from manual to automated, we need to understand what are the gaps here, what are the gaps to be filled, and what priority, and those scenarios. So those are mentioned in the document called gap study document. Okay, this is again a kind of composite document where we have a couple of documents combined together. Let's try to understand the outputs. Current state description, the as is scenario, as we normally talk in day-to-day life. The business requirement, what are the requirements of the wish list given by the stakeholders? What are the business objectives, core and subsequent or supportive? What are the future test descriptions? What are the wish list takes the solution to the future state? So it will be automated 24/7, free from human errors and so on and so forth. And we also consider potential value for this solution to the client and to the technical partner as in my organization as well. There's a risk analysis and results. What are the uncertainty we are facing? Is there a volatility in market? Is there a volatility in terms of people health? Like there are quite a few resources gone on leave because of COVID, the cough and the cold and the fever and all 9 yards of it. So we need to mitigate this risk, or we need to start thinking on those risk mitigation results. Then what type of changes we have to pursue in terms of flexibility. And then the another thing, 6.4, solution scope. As we define scope, other boundary. So how far this solution can go? You can't build an infinite solution. There has to be a finality to the solutions. You can't keep building the roads wherever you find a land. There has to be a strategy. There has to be a schedule attached to it. So I'll build 2 kilometers of roads today, 2 kilometers tomorrow, or 2.5 kilometers tomorrow, and so on and so forth, because I keep improving my policies and procedures, right? So we have to attach a scope to given solution. And these are really important factor. If you have not done the business analysis, this scope definition or solution scope understanding is an important fact. Whenever we start first, you normally closely work with sales team or a senior business analyst, depending upon the number of employees in your organizations and involved in your current project and all. But still, there'll be somebody to guide you on something like how do you scope out a solution? What type of templates do we use? Where to find those templates? Are your credential in line with this crowd credential required for a business analyst, and so on and so forth. So we work as a team. We try to find out where which room is, and so on and so forth, by a kind of employee help available at your organizations where you're going to join. So this way, there are some things which we tackle practically, where we tackle by historical policies and procedures within my organization. So solution scopes are basically the boundaries which I have basically built for my solutions. I shouldn't go beyond that. There could be some scope boundary, there could be some schedule boundary, and there are a cost boundary always, which are not come to analyst or sales management level, but the costs are involved in every project, product, or services. So these type of scopes are really important to understand as a business analyst. And as a project manager, the scope have a really crucial factor for the management. We'll understand when we start learning the project management training sessions. Then there's a knowledge area for you called requirement analysis, design definition. Now again, Babuk mentioned design, but we are talking about the conceptual design, which is independent from technical assignment. We don't decide if you're going to use Java, if you're going to use .NET, if you're going to use anything else, or even for that matter, we are not going to decide, in terms of what type of integration mechanism we're going to build. So all those architectural definitions or designs are done by the project management and team at the time of elaboration, at the time of whenever you elaborate these requirement documents to a practical implementation levels. But we do a conceptual design whenever we start working on these things, because we have to understand the dependencies, right? So here, what we do, we start designing a conceptual design. So whenever there's a word called design, as far as BA goes, we are talking about the conceptual design. Describes the task that business analysts perform to structure and organize the requirement discovered during the elicitation activities. Specify the model specify and model the requirement and designs, validate and verify information, identify solution options, and meet the business needs, estimate the potential value and could be realized for each solution option. So here, mota, what we are trying to do, we are trying to find the alternatives and choose the correct one. So whenever we do analyze certain problems, certain wish list, certain requirement, we try to basically validate it with the best possible options, with the most effective options to be built for a given time with the resources in hand at that time. So that's why requirement and analysis design definition is a really important and a critical factor. As we do it, when we start basically building the approach, we define this requirement analysis and design definition. The knowledge of area covers the incremental and iterative activities ranging from the initial concept and exploration of the need through the transformation of those needs into a particular recommended solution. So this basically encompasses the complete path of understanding the vision, understanding the wish list, to convert it to a minutes of meeting, list of requirements, and the product feature list. So the complete 9 the complete trace is being covered here in the knowledge, in the 5th knowledge area. Let's try to understand from an input-output perspective. So the inputs, requirements, approved, non-approved, any state. Information management approach, same as we built in the previous knowledge area. The elicitation result, any state. This is coming from the second knowledge area. And then here the additional is potential value. We are trying to basically build what are the returns this solution is going to give it to the client, to the engagement partner as well. And then solution scope from the previous knowledge area, and then change strategy. This change strategy talks about, as we discussed, whatever change or the flexibility we got inbuilt in this analysis approach. Let's take a step further and try to understand the task here. The different tasks we have planned, basically specify fundamental model requirement. Here we are basically finalizing the requirement in a modular way, in a conceptual way, which are basically depicted in text as well as diagram. We'll see to it that how we include these things, how we do these things. There are a hands-on workshop planned for this as well. Verify requirements. So we do verify requirements, we get them sanctioned, validated from the stakeholder and approved from a respective dignitary at a client place or at a to whomever we are giving the solutions to. Define the requirement architecture. Here the architecture means conceptual architecture. Define designs options. What type of designs options do they have? So if you are building an electric car, you have a solar panel, you have an electric battery, you have a hybrid battery. So which of them we are going to use, or what are the options available? Analyze the potential value and recommendations. So in terms of costing, in terms of business results, business spread, we're trying to understand how this potential value of a given solution, product or services going to improve as far as the organizations, the client organization is concerned. And to the technical partner as well, means to the Infosys or wherever I'm working as an analyst. Let's try to understand the output. Requirement is specified and modeled. Here we have the text as well as the diagrams. Requirements verified, approved with the timestamp. Timestamp is a variable where I normally mention via computer at what exact time somebody have sent mail, somebody have clicked on that approval button. Okay. In IT, timestamp is a crucial factor as the traceability. So timestamp basically is a single number which encompasses, like if I want to explain you, the timestamp on our computer clock right now can be 9:50 p.m. 19th February 2022 with nanosecond, microsecond, milliseconds, so that we get the exact instance wherever these requirements are verified, validated, and approved. So timestamp we need to understand. Requirement traceability is also we need to understand in terms of the longevity as far as the business analysis and project management processes are concerned. Requirements architecture. We build a normal interdependency conceptual diagram, which is normally referred as a requirement architecture. Actually, the solution architecture is being created by the architects of the world. We don't do solution architecture. These are the requirement architecture where we normally check for the interdependency. Then we have design options. So what type of design options have we suggested? Which of them sounds better to you? The business can decide either of them as well at a later stage. Then solution recommendation, depending upon the different option, I normally give solution recommendations. These are also part and parcel of the system requirement specification. We give design options as well as solution recommendation in our SRS, system requirement specification, the document which is owned by business analyst. Okay, so everything whatever we do here normally is a part and parcel of SRS one way or the other. Anybody have any confusion on this?
Excuse me, Ravinder. Just one quick question. So the tasks and the outputs or the inputs, whatever we have for all the different knowledge areas. So irrespective of the type of project, or I would say, or solution that we have to achieve,
Uh-huh.
do we do all these tasks and produce all the outputs irrespective of any category of the project?
That's a great question, ma'am. Let me, take you back. See, these are standardized best practices given in a book, right? Now, whenever we touch, should we do all? No, no. These are the best practices. Normally, organizations perform few of them, and normally these documents are combined into one document most of the times. So if you
Yeah.
join industries, they have their own processes. So they'll say, Key, you need to do fishbone diagram, you need to do SWOT analysis, you need to do HLD and use case diagram. But normally use case diagram and high level diagrams are common in all the organizations. The others are optionals most of the times, which basically tells you about the design options, which basically tells you about the recommendation of solution. But overall, list of requirements is just a simple Excel sheet or a Word document. That's common everywhere. List of stakeholder is also common everywhere. Normally an Excel sheet, sometimes it's a Word document also. Requirements architecture is basically the high level diagram we talk about, or a conceptual architecture we talked about, right? So more or less we have each and everything encompassed into a single document called SRS most of the time. Or there could be some appendix attached to the SRS few times in few organizations. But mota, if you ask me, we do each of these things, even for every product, every project, even in day-to-day life. Believe me, try to understand these things on your own. Let's say you want to make, you want to cook something which you haven't cooked in last 6 months. Let's take, I know I like a sweet called balushahi. If you heard of, have you heard of balushahi?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So let's say I have not made balushahi in last 6 months. I want to create some balushahi with say half kg of flour. Simple enough. This is my project. Now think on these lines. What type of documentation of the artifact I need to start cooking? I need to procure something, right? I might not have the flour, the maida which is required. I might not have the, flavoring thing. I might not have the curd. I might not have the sugar. I might not have ample of ghee required to, do certain processes in balushai. So that I need to plan it out. So here the stakeholder, me, myself, right? I'm building balushai for me or my family member. So these are the stakeholder. I might sit with them and discuss with them. Hey, what type of, flavor do you like? Do you like vanilla, rose? So I need to choose for the essence which I am going to include. Do you like the balushahi dipped in sugar, or do you like balushahi with internal sugar spread? Right? There are these couple of types of balushahis where you don't normally see sugar coating, and some balushahi you have sugar coating also. So these are the product which we are trying to build, and there are these processes which are going through. So think in that direction rather than the project which we thinking of. Me as an analyst working for Infosys, and I'm doing the attendance management system enhancement for State Farm. So you can think on these solution line, then you'll relate these boxes with either one or multiple documents or multiple artifacts. Does that answer your question, ma'am?
Yeah, so yeah, it does. Thank you.
Think it
So
through. Good.
when you said we will actually do something, a hands-on thing, so we
Uh-huh.
will be able to go back into these slides and then relate, okay, this is this step, and these are the inputs, and these are the tasks that we are doing, and this is the output that is produced. So we will be able to relate all these when we do the hands-on.
That's correct, ma'am. I'm going to share this PDF with you so you can
Okay.
keep for your references. Whenever you hands on, you can go to any step and basically debate on like these documents fall into this category or that category, or have we missed these things, and
Okay.
so on. So we'll discuss that. Don't worry.
Okay.
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 Same with
Thank you.
project management as well. No problem. See, these are the best practices, and that's why we have kept it there to learn from. And if you
Yeah,
do this,
that's right. Because when I was working with a bank, and I haven't seen use of these extensive documents, right? Practically, it really depends on how well they have actually adopted the framework. So
Mhm.
sometimes all organizations, they do not actually adopt the framework. I mean, suppose
Available.
PMI, yeah,
I can.
PMI has defined certain way to handle a project from start to finish, right? Use so many
Right.
documents and project plan document and use MS project and this. But practically, I have seen organizations not really following all that. It depends on how mature the organization is.
Exactly,
How much
exactly.
do they follow?
The
I
kinds
haven't seen, I was in a big bank, but I haven't seen them actually follow this to the entirety. They don't.
we don't need entire thing, man. Means,
Yeah.
you do it in a smaller or bigger faction, depending upon your need. So that's why I'm saying, just sit down at home today and
Mhm.
try to do it for Balushai. Balushai is easier project for you, right? You want to create Balushai. You might create one for, your family as well. Not a bigger deal. It's a simple, produce rather than a complicated one. So, or Puran Puri, whatever you want to do. I'm specifically talking about food because you can relate directly to that. Pardon me if I'm wrong in that scenario, but still, when we think on the practicality of it, then you'll understand or you'll relate to it. Sometimes requirements are verified by me because I'm cooking, right? Validated by me also because I'm cooking. I'm the stakeholder because I'm going to consume that balushai. In the example which we are discussing, me working as an analyst with the Infosys and presenting the document to the state farm, which is another entity. So another person for that matters. So that way the complications get increased in multifold. So that's why you have to relate these things to a practical scenario and then you'll understand in depth.
Mhm.
And these are the best practices. It doesn't mean like 7.1 done, 7.2 done, 7.3 done. No, this is
Yeah.
not a site launch, but you can combine all 7.3, 1, 2, 5 in one document, 6, 4, 1 in another. And this do happens. Practicability, these are what we can say part of the quality policy and procedure of each and every organizations. And
Mhm.
normally, I believe you worked in a bit of, before time, wherever these best practices were not available or not made public in your region or something like that. So this might be happened also. Now,
Mhm.
these are all matured processes, matured documentation, and overall industry following them. Yes, depending upon the customization, depending upon this is more important than the other and so on and so forth, this thing do happen. Now, how do you check this? Take a practical example where you can take a food process, or we can talk on the solutioning concept which we were discussing. Me working as an analyst at Infosys, and I'm doing the solutioning for State Farm for attendance management solution enhancement, and we can dwell on that and something like that. So think it through. Churn your brain, jot down some points on your pen and paper, and we can discuss this thing in our next session as well. So that will make sure like we don't have to do everything. These are kind of best practices, right? So we
Mhm.
might do a probability like choose this, that is more important than that, and those kind of scenario. Does that make sense, ma'am?
Yeah.
I've answered your question.
Yeah. Thank you.
No problem. Let's go ahead. And the sixth knowledge area is solution evolution. Rather than evolution, I might have like the word solution inception. So here we or solution conceiving. So we conceive the solution, we deliver the solution in a conceptual way. We don't create it, we don't develop it, but the solution evolution starts from here. Describes the task and the business analyst perform to assess the performance and the value delivered by a solution in use by the enterprise to recommend removal of barriers or constraint that prevent the full realization of a value. Now here, this can be a knowledge area which is normally taken as an towards the tail end of the project life cycle. But still, let's try to understand in terms of input output, and then we can relate it to a particular practical life example. The inputs are implemented solutions. So here we are talking about the solution which we are implemented, delivered, given to the client. So let's think about, I have created Balushai, or I have given the attendance management solution to State Farm, delivered, and they have started using it, right? Then the current state of description, how the solution, are the State Farm satisfied with them? Have they got what they are looking for, and so on and so forth? Have the business objectives have been achieved? There are core and subordinate business objective. Are they achieved? Yes, no. The potential value which I have perceived in my documents, to be achieved? Have we achieved that value? The task here is basically measure solution performance, or how satisfaction the client have been, how satisfied the client with this solution, and those kind of measures of performance for the solution. Then analyze performance measures in terms of, let's say if you created a website, how fast is the website? If you created an Android app, how fast is the Android app? If you created that attendance management solution, is it slower from the previous? Is it efficient from the previous? Well, in our scenario, everything looks green. The solution is really improving, because earlier we used to have lines of people signing on attendance registers. Now I have 6 different iris scanners, so whoever comes in can directly put their eye against the scanner and walk in. As simple as that. They don't have to press a button, they don't have to show their IDs to anybody and all those things. So now we do these tasks within 10 seconds, where previously it used to take 3 minutes, 4 minutes, depending upon the actual time slabs. So these are the exact numbered performance measures. Then assess the solution limitations. What are the limitations? Well, if you get anybody more than 6 at a time, we have 6, so I might need to add another. Or 6 are too many, I might shift from this office to that office. So we are basically suggesting improvements on that solution. Assess enterprise limitations. Are enterprise ready to have at least one iris scanner everywhere, or they want to still continue with the manual processes because the people are not ready to change and blah blah. So there are many challenges, right? Everywhere there are challenges in terms of acceptance of a solution. So that's why assess enterprise limitation is also one of the factors. Recommendation action to increase the solution value. So how can we increase the solution reach? How can we increase the solution returns? Which mean, do I have to train them? In some scenario, we might have to go and train them if you are developing a complex solution. So this way, there are these factors which are considered as a process in solution evolution knowledge area. Then the outputs are solution performance measure. As I told you, we can measure the performance. Are the clients satisfied? Satisfied enough? On the scale of 1 to 10, how satisfied? So this is what we do with a customer survey. So we might, float a web page on Infosys website saying attendance management solution enhancement, survey with the employees, survey with the business owner. How do you find the solution? Is it helping? Is it really making your life efficient? Have the cost have been recurred? How much faster the solution is performing for you? Could you suggest something which we can improve, or which we can add the value to, and so on and so forth? Are there any solution limitations? Are there any enterprise limitations? Do you recommend some actions to be taken in addition to whatever we delivered? And these type of continuous improvements may kick in wherever you deliver the solution. This is like asking the family, how was the balushai? Do you think it should be more crunchy, more flexible? Should we go with the rose flavor or the vanilla flavor? Something like that. So, or you can take simple example of ice cream making also, or a kulfi making for that matters, right? So this way, we keep improving our business analysis policies and procedures step by step, right? So these are all 6 knowledge area we have covered today. Now, in the next time, we'll start with overall dependencies within this knowledge area, as you can see on the screen. Then we move to basically understanding the core concept model, BACCM, what we discussed in the video last time. We'll revisit that thing and try to understand how this key terminology, as Madam correctly pointed out, how this key terminology relates to actual performance or the processes we have thought through in these business analysis activity. Anybody have any question for these for this movement?
No.
Do you think this is helping you in the business analysis understanding overall? Am I doing good?
Yeah, excellent.
Thank you. Akhilji, what do you think, sir?
So far, so good, boss. I'm still trying to absorb a lot of information.
Yes, I know, I can understand, but still, I normally keep doing this thing because this will make sure if I can improve it anyway. I do. Today's session was more of a monologue. I can understand that, but this is like kind of ample information I need to share with you in a single session. So that's why I was a bit monologuous today. But yes, we'll be more interactive in further sessions. I can sure of that. How about you, Vandana ma'am?
I'm good, thank you.
Okay, no problem. So let's close our session here. I'll share the recording within a couple of hours because Zoom takes some time to get this thing recording process and all. You can have a look at this thing. Even I'm going to share the presentation with a couple of further slides as well. Okay, I keep improving this presentation, so whatever I share can change a bit. And at the end of the sessions, I will share the complete presentation with you, whichever is updated. It's a kind of process I improve myself kind of scenario. So if you have any feedback for me, please feel free to give it to, and I would really love to improve myself as well. Okay, chalo. Thanks a lot for your time. Have a great weekend. Bye bye. Take care.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You,
Thanks a
bye.
lot. Bye bye.